Hello all, Old Geek here, and back with another look through a piece of gaming history. In our Dragon magazine series, done the first four. Fourth one didn't really appeal to me because it was all about a role-playing game that I know nothing about, Empire of the Petal Throne. But we're on to number five now. Volume 1, number 5, March, and that was from 1977. It's around this time that I believe the AD&D Monster Manual was in production around now, because that was first published in 77. I don't know what month, but maybe I should brush up on my knowledge. Anyway, let's have a little look at this little piece of gaming history, and you can see that after the more impressive but clearly not done by in-house artists cover on the last one, we're back to sort of somewhat crude covers. It's a Conan-y theme again, barbarians with big swords and serpents. Yeah, this is very, very swords and sorcery, which of course is what D&D was originally. Gen Con advert. Okay, still 5 months to go, so building up some interest. It was Gen Con then grew and exploded, didn't it? Dragon Rumbles. Right, this is your little Tim Kask introduction. Talks about the weather in the States, which is a lot more severe than in here. And inundated with a barrage of inquiries and unsolicited manuscripts, most of which aren't right for these pages. But I'm reading or having them read by Gary Jacquet, who has become my voluntary associate, meaning unpaid. Every single, yeah. These old days of zine type publications, they didn't earn very much money doing this, if anything. Right, so let's see what we've got in this Witchcraft supplement for D&D, Metamorphosis Alpha, featured creature, letters pages back, How Green Was My Mutant, Beyond the Wizard Fog, that's going to be fiction, Wizard Research Rules, oh, this is where the idea that Gandalf was only a level 5 magic user came from. Gandalf wasn't a magic user. He wasn't a cleric. He was a demigod. It doesn't play by D&D leveling rules. He was a fictional character in a novel that doesn't fit in any of these. I know they tried to give old mythological heroes and gods and goddesses and fictional characters class levels. Deities and demigods did it, of course. Gandalf, me, doesn't fit in with any of that. If you're going to put Gandalf in deities and demigods, which of course they didn't do, then you'd have to create him outside of the class creation rules. Simple as that. He wielded a sword. His magic was, well, he was much more powerful than his magic ever displayed in the books. That, to me, as a reader and a listener and a watcher and whatever, that to me is obvious. Anyway, let's move on. A witchcraft supplement for Dungeons and Dragons. Its origins long since buried in the mists of time, the full story of witchcraft will never be told, but it is certain that it held deep roots in even the most humble and God-fearing of ancient communities. Oh, they didn't. They didn't know that. They didn't know who wrote this. Oh, it's a shame. I wonder if they'll step forward in and be mentioned in a later edition. Well, we'll have to wait and find out. So, witches. Hubble, bubble, toil and trouble. Fire burn and cauldron bubble. Since no witches appear in the wilderness encounter chart, assume on a die roll of 5 or 7 there'll be witches present 50. Which wilderness encounter chart? I'm guessing that's OD&D. So it's referring to a rule set that I don't have. Oh well. Oh well. Now a witch has got to be a cross between like a shamanistic priest and wizard type, brewing potions and cackling away and turning children into toads. Polymorph spells. Polymorph spells are going to be big for witches. Well, they should be. Enchantment sorts. Yes. She has ensorcelled me. That sort of stuff. Of course, yeah, there were white witches. In 16th, 17th century, it didn't matter what sort of witch you were. If you claimed to be a witch, or if someone claimed you were a witch, burn her. Though most of them weren't burnt. So these are all the spells that they're giving to witches. Looks like they're mostly creation type things, knowledge. They're not going to be your fireball-y, magic missile, cone of cold types. Where's polymorph? Youth spell, make them younger. What about beauty? Opposite, grow wart. There's polymorph. I can see it. Protection spells, charm spells, things that mess with the mind, things that look into the future. Yeah. I think that it looks like. I mean, I'm not going to read every little bit of it, but it looks like they've got the thought of how a witch would operate correct. That looks very sensible. Very sensible. Moving on. Introducing the world's most respected view on gamers. Arrogant. Games and puzzles. Oh, that's a games and puzzles book. Oh, and not just puzzles you do on the pages like crosswords and stuff. Tips on creating games and whatever. Yeah, well, nothing wrong with that, though I don't remember seeing that magazine over here. I'm guessing it didn't really continue for very long. If anyone ever got a copy of it, let me know. More about witches. Special weapons. Skull of Death, Mountain Seeds, Leech Dust. Got any leeches for this? Assassin's Eyes, Witch Wand. Serpent Belt, Seed Satchel, Hornet Cape. All good stuff. Yeah, sounds good to me. Sounds very good to me. Cackling Hag in the Woods. Hansel and Gretel. Well, that's yeah. Come, children. Come visit my house made of gingerbread. Items that they might want to use. Illusion wands, polymorph wands. Locket of Satan, found only in the possession of evil witches, but usable by all neutral and chaotic man types. Pardon me. As command chaotic creatures within the 7-inch range. Why not 6? Why not 12? Why go for 7? Seems an odd number to pick. Metamorphosis Alpha will be sci-fi and thus of little interest to me. Might be of interest to you, not of interest to me, so you can read it, I won't. So I'll pause on the page. If you want to read this bit, pause the video now, and there's the bottom bit of the page. Okay, now moving on. Wizards and Warriors by Grenadier, for the finest in fantasy. I remember Grenadier model. Do Grenadier models still exist? I don't know. Featured creature. Aha! The Ankeg. I like Ankegs. Always thought they were very interesting. Brutally deadly, though. Brutally. You did not want to get anywhere near their assassin spit. Assassin. Anywhere near their acid spit. Tons of damage. Yes. Decent armor class, unless you hit their underside. And the ability to just up through the ground and chomp on you wherever you are. Yeah. Good. A good creature. One of my favourites. Nice to see it in these pages. Out on a limb. Okay, let's have a little look at see if, because I recognised a few of the names on the first ever Out of the Limb page. It certainly looks like there's more letters this time. But don't think I've heard of any of these people who've written this time. No, don't know them. So, but obviously I can't sit and read letters while I'm browsing through. But letters pages were always very interesting to me as a kid. Whenever I got a music magazine or anything like that, I would always read the letters pages. Then there was Viz Comic. If you remember Viz Comic, their spoof letters page was absolutely superb. It was satirical. It was taking the Mickey. Fake letters about fake topics. They always had these stupid names that they were coming for. They weren't from real people. They were all made up. But one of the funniest parts of any issue of Viz was the letters page and the top tips. Viz's top tips. I remember one. Fed up with runny, low-fat yogurts. Give your yogurt more thickness by stirring in a lump of lard before you eat it. I'm not going to say what this looked like initially to me, but I saw these pictures pouring. That looks like pouring some sort of liquid onto a pad and absorb. Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. Maybe that's the way my mind thinks. Oh well. What is it actually? Oh, it's for making bits and pieces for a game area, battlefield, or whatever. Fair enough. Minifigs. How green was my mutant? Oh, these characteristics for sci-fi characters. And this one here looks to be about 25% green, roughly. Very stripy. I just don't gel with sci-fi. Sorry. Just all bit too bonkers for me. Dirt. Not gonna read dirt. Dirt's rubbish. Look at here, they've even got a. Was that error? That bit down the middle of it, was that in the original magazine or is that just happened in the PDF? But it's cheap filler. It's tat. Right, okay. Judges Guild. This particular mutant looks like he's got some very unpleasant disease. Red splodges all over, lesions all over his body. Plague ridden. Beyond the Wizard Fog. This will be, this is fiction. This is a story. One day I'll go back and read those. Hinchcliffe means quality. Is it me, or is there an issue in the quality of the alignment of the font? So Hinchcliffe means slightly wonky font. We can't get the alignment for our advert absolutely correct. But our spears are straight, honest. Okay? I've never heard of Hinchcliffe. We continue with the fiction. Wellpather, they did keep going for a while. I don't think they're going anymore, but I certainly have had some Wellpather miniatures when I was in my teens. In fact, some of my old miniatures I've collected probably are Wellpather, because I got rid of all my stuff and I bought a lot of stuff back again. I've got some old miniatures up in the loft, or attic as you'd call them in America. I think some of those might be Wellpather. I don't know. I'm not a miniatures aficionado, but I do have quite a few. This is quite a long story. Quite a long story. Right. Wizard research rules. The following rules are designed to supplement the research rules found in Men and Magic. Okay. And the Dragon Volume 1, Number 2. Okay, they've been play tested in the Kingdom of Blake game at the Historical Simulation Society in Charlottesville, Virginia, for over a year, real time, or over 9 years in game time. They're not playing that one-to-one time that people go on about. Okay, it shows that one-to-one time might not have been how everybody played it back in the day, as some people might claim. It's all about creating new spells. Yeah, wizards should be able to create new spells. That is a cornerstone of the magic user class, and I love it when my players come up with ideas for spells. I wish they'd do it more often. I certainly came up with a couple of very minor spells for a necromancer that I played. He was a very irritating chap. His name was Ferdinand Fiddleweed. He talked over the top of people, believed he was always right. Very, very pedantic, absolute nerd. And he created a spell called Ferdinand's Frustrating Filibuster. As soon as someone started talking, he'd just talk over the top of them and cause them to lose track of what they were saying. Because he'd just go rah, 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 blah, 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 over the top of them, and no one couldn't, their train of thought would be confused. Spells should fit the campaign and fit the character, and that one fitted him, and I was quite proud of that one. Right. Creating magic weapons. Yes. Yes. Is this before the enchant an item spell existed? Or maybe it's the origins of the enchant an item spell. Don't know. But good. This is a sort of thing that wizard characters, certainly when they getting to their sort of retirement phase of their adventuring. You've got the cleric with their own temple. They've got the thief with their own guild. The warrior types, fighter types with their castles and their armies. What is a wizard going to be doing in his tower? Brewing potions, scribing scrolls, coming up with new spells. Somebody's laughing. Making magic items. Of course they will. That's all part of the game. Here's that monster dragon. Thank you for those who corrected me last week when I was taking the mickey out of that price, $35. I thought that was a lot more than it actually was. It's still a lot of money. Probably half a week's wages rather than a whole week's wages. But I just remember my first job, I was paid about £2. I can't remember if it was £2.20 or £2.40 an hour. I was 18 and I was working in a pub. I was cleaning up in a pub, putting bottles on the shelves, washing glasses, cleaning tables, things like that. I was 18. I was old enough to serve behind the bar, but they didn't need bar help at the time. And that was 1990, 89. No, it would have been Christmas 1989 or early months of 1990. So, of course, the pound dollar exchange rate was different then. Still, a couple of days' pay for a miniature does feel like a lot, but then again, Warhammer really expensive nowadays. As far as I know, I haven't bought anything by Games Workshop for a very, very, very long time. So more about creating stuff. More adverts. Here we go. Gandalf was only a 5th level magic user by Bill Seligman. Seligman? However you want to pronounce that name, I don't know. This is, to me, it's extremely typical nerdy thing to do, to go through the pages of a book to try and line up the spells that somebody does in a book and then attribute them to D&D levels when, look, if you don't read Lord of the Rings and come away with the conclusion that Gandalf was a lot more than just a wizard, he was essentially immortal, then you're reading it wrong. I'm afraid to say. And they try and do the same for Sauron. Clairvoyance, ESP, and perhaps an advanced wizard eye. Look, these were almost spirit realm type things. Sauron was a force. Sauron was a. It wasn't, certainly at the time of the Lord of the Rings, he wasn't an individual. He was a force in the world. Okay, let's have a look at this cartoon. The special Monday night meeting of the Westfinster Wargamers. All right, while you jerks were telling jokes about trashing orcs, I had time to roll for random monsters, which are now in the process of eating your guard. Okay. Right. Okay. They say pay attention, players. But joking around, look, they've got beer. Look, there's beer there. They're going to be joking around. Bring beer to a gaming session. There will be jokes. Some will be good. Some bad. Most of them must be dad jokes nowadays. Really, yeah, bad one. There's the rest of the Ankeg, and here's the rest of research, and there's more about witches' covens. Great layout, yeah. Great layout magazine, yeah. Okay. Diplomacy World. The Gnome Cache. Is that not finished yet? Still haven't read any of it. Haven't read any of it. It's more fiction, obviously. This image here. The horse isn't bad, but it looks like the rider's a bit odd. Is that where the rider would be? Hmm. Advertising Metamorphosis Alpha. Something I know nothing about. Do, 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 do. And there we go. We are at the end of the issue. Well, it wasn't that much better than. Sorry, I mean, you might have been a fan of Empire of the Petal Throne, but for me, that was much more interesting. There was certainly the Ankeg, the article on witches, and the article on wizards making stuff. those are the sort of things I would buy a magazine for. Certainly in the early days of a hobby, when the rule books are light on that sort of information, and we're starting to see how these rules came into the hobby. I always heard people always said, "Oh, that was it. That was in Dragon magazine." I've got Unearthed Arcana. Oh, it's a collection of Dragon magazine articles essentially, and it's nice seeing that properly as is, because I can now start seeing how these articles were shaping the way the game developed and evolved. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed that little read through. I've been the Old Geek, and I'll see you next time.